Hi there folks, and welcome into the Truck King YouTube channel. On my left today, yes, we have the Tesla Cybertruck. Finally, we're gonna get a chance behind the wheel of this beast. And on the right, that is the Chevrolet Silverado EV. And behind them, we have identical Airstream trailers. So you probably already know what's gonna happen. We're doing a towing test, and we're gonna tell you which one of these feels better and which one consumes more energy with the exact same trailer. So make sure you stay tuned. Right off the top, let's talk trailers. So today we're towing a pair of Airstream Flying Clouds. These things come in with a GVWR of 7,600 pounds, but they are both empty today, so the actual weight is right around 6,000 pounds. Now, Airstreams are known for being very aerodynamic and not adding a lot of consumption onto your vehicle, so that's one of the reasons we're using them. Plus, we're here at Can-Am RV Centre just outside of London, Ontario. This is Ontario's only Airstream dealer, and if you're interested in one of these Airstreams, make sure you come down here to Can-Am and talk to Andy, because he will hook you up. So yes, he hooked us up today with these two, and I can't wait to get out there on the road. Now let's take a closer look at the actual trucks we tested, starting with the Tesla. So this is a Cybertruck Foundation Series all-wheel drive. Now, Foundation Series was a limited run of Cybertrucks, and they were the first ones to be built. It costs roughly $20,000 to get into a Foundation Series, and for that money, you got a whole bunch of upgraded features. Things like access to full self-driving, power share equipment. The truck comes with gear locker dividers. You're also getting different wheels and tires and different interior appointments, plus Foundation Series etchings right into the bodywork. And on top of all that, for those who went Foundation Series, they got their trucks before others waiting for the standard Cybertruck. And then the all-wheel drive part of the equation means that no, this is not the top spec Cybertruck, that's the Cyber Beast. It has the most horsepower and output. However, the all-wheel drive model gets the most range. Now, you have to talk about the styling with Cybertruck, obviously. And look, it's polarizing. I don't think anyone doesn't have an opinion here. You either love it or you hate it. And it doesn't matter which camp you fall in. I think we can all agree that the Cybertruck does achieve its goal of attracting attention. You cannot drive this thing and go incognito. Everyone is going to notice you. So if that's something you're interested in, this is probably one of the best vehicles on the market today for just straight up being noticed. Now, over here, we have the Silverado EV, which is in quite a eye-catching color today as well. Although, of course, the styling here is much more typical pickup truck. It's not something that looks like it's coming from the future. I think the Chevy's pretty handsome, but you know what? At this point, let me ask the question to you guys. Why don't you drop into the comments and let me know which one of these two trucks do you really think looks better? And this truck is the Silverado EV RST. This is essentially the sporty model in the lineup. It gets some more aggressive accents. It gets those huge 24-inch wheels. But by now, I'm sure you're curious about the numbers. So let me break those down for you. Let's start with the Chevy. So the Silverado EV is a dual motor setup, one in the front and one in the back. And the RST is the most powerful model. This thing makes 760 horsepower and 785 pound-feet of torque. And it can make the jump from 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. Now, battery capacity here is just over 200 kilowatt hours on the RST Max range model, which means that the overall range on a full charge is about 460 miles or 740 kilometers. Now, when it comes to charging, the Silverado EV can do DC fast charging up to 350 kilowatts, and that will recoup 100 miles in 10 minutes of charging. And then looking at the Cybertruck all-wheel drive, it's also a dual motor setup. It makes 600 horsepower, and overall range on this truck is 325 miles, or about 523 kilometers. Now, acceleration from 0 to 60 will happen in 4.1 seconds, according to Tesla. And when it comes time to charge, you can get up to 325 kilowatts of max charging, and that is going to add about 137 miles back to your truck in 15 minutes. Oh, and if you're just wondering about raw battery pack capacity, the Cybertruck has an overall capacity of 122.4 kilowatt hours. The Chevy in max range trim has a battery pack that is 205 kilowatt hours. Finally, let me leave you with towing and payload. So the Silverado EV here is good for 12,500 pounds of towing. The Tesla, good for 11,000 pounds. And then you can see the payload numbers that we actually had on our trucks right here. And yes, the Cybertruck has a very impressive amount of payload. Cybertruck. So we are here on the 401 and we're doing the exact same loop with the Cybertruck and with the Chevy. Dad is driving this truck right now, and Andy, who is the owner of the RV dealership where we borrowed these beautiful trailers, he's driving the Chevy, and then they'll swap. So we'll also have the same drivers in both trucks to try to keep this as even as possible. And then at the end of our little trip, we'll stop and we'll talk about consumption. For now, Dad, we just gotta focus on what you're feeling. So, you know, as someone who's towed many trailers with many vehicles, yeah, what do you feel out of the Cybertruck? What jumps out to you as good and what jumps out as bad?
The first thing that sticks out is steering.
Right.
The steering ratio in this, compared to probably anything else that comes out of Detroit, is incredibly tight.
Right.
I mean, you turn this wheel 45 degrees and you're going to do donuts. However, that's just a function of what you're used to. I gather that within a day or two, I would think it was perfectly normal. So in general, it holds a line very well. You need the lightest touch to just kind of keep coaxing it to where you want it to be. That's the immediate thing. Past that, it's planted. That trailer is dead solid back there. Now granted, we are using equalizing hitches, which I would absolutely recommend with a trailer of this size. So the stiffness right down through the entire rig is obvious. So, you know, if I projected myself and said, you know, could I drive this for 1,000 kilometers? Yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah, which is good news. And that was one of the questions I wanted to ask is, it doesn't feel twitchy, right? Because at slow speeds, yeah, you're barely turning that wheel. So I was wondering at highway speeds if it did feel at all.
I thought it might, but here you go. It tracks well. So right now I'm going to fall off. I need the tiniest input just to sort of bring myself back to center. So yeah, not twitchy in the way you meant.
Sure. Okay, how about sight lines? Obviously, the Cybertruck is a very unique shape. There's nothing else like this on the road. I mean, I can just tell you from over here, yeah, it takes a minute to get used to the windshield being so far out in front of you. It's raked so much.
Yeah.
And then the shape of the mirrors, while cool, I don't know if it's better or worse. What do you think?
Well, strangely enough, I mean, they're weird the way that they sort of slant down, but they also do stick out quite far. So, because right now, all I really care about is what's in the lane next to me, more so than down the side of the vehicle, and for that it's okay.
Yeah, fair enough. And that was my take too. I do wish they were more rounded at the top, but with the trailer you do want them coming out far, and at least they do that.
Yeah, but as you and I mentioned earlier, there are tow mirror clip-ons or add-ons that you can get for this.
Right.
So, you know, that would also help you there.
Sure. So yeah, in terms of maneuverability, we actually did a test before we left the dealership where we turned the Silverado and the Cybertruck in the tightest possible circle. You can see it from a top-down view right here. And there's no doubt that the advantage of the four-wheel steering on both of these trucks is huge. It's huge when you're just maneuvering around a parking lot, but I'd say with the trailer, it's probably more pronounced. Now, the Cybertruck took roughly 2 feet more than the Chevy did to make that turn, so it was a little bit worse, but pretty close. Still, I love having the four-wheel steering, and I think in a towing application, anything that's going to make you turn tighter and handle better is a good thing.
Yeah, particularly, this is where you want to feel good about doing tight space maneuvering. You can't always, well, I was just about to say you can't always get into a truck stop, but, I'm thinking along the lines of pumping diesel. But
that's true.
And that's another reality with driving an electric vehicle is if you have to go to the charger that you're aimed at. And once you get there, you need to figure out how to use it. Whereas in a gas vehicle, and I've done this, I've driven right up by a gas station and went, nope, too tight, kept going. Because there's another one 5 minutes down the road. You don't have that luxury in an electric vehicle today yet. So, the simple fact that it is very maneuverable so that you can get into tight places, that's important for that alone.
Yeah, that's a good point. So outside of the way it drives, I think we should just touch on the interior. Once again, very different from anything else on the market. Tesla definitely goes for the sort of minimalist interior, which I'm okay with. Design-wise, I do think it looks nice. I will admit, I feel like some of the parts in here feel a little cheap. Like this plastic bezel down here, some of the plastic switch gear. Yeah, I find myself getting in and going, it's a lot of money for some of this kind of basic black plastic. So that's my one complaint on the interior. And I am comparing it directly to the Chev. The Chev just feels a little bit more upscale to me because the materials are a bit nicer. But outside of that, yeah, I do like the design. It's quite airy in here. The way the roof is shaped means good headroom, good size. I mean, look, you're so far away from me. We're not rubbing it up.
Stop poking me.
So, yeah, and I should mention, because you've already probably noticed, we do have the owner of the Cybertruck and his son in the back. And how's the back seat back there, guys? You fit okay?
First time in the back seat, and it's perfect back here.
Good, yeah. It honestly looks like you got lots of legroom, which is nice. And I can tell you too, that Silverado has a huge back seat, so love to see that. Yeah. Any other thoughts on the interior, Deb?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because as you were saying that, I agree with everything you've said. I mean, but on the other hand, and I've had very little time in this truck, but the electronics, the software, the displays, the sort of intuitive things where the signals cancel themselves as soon as you cross the line. I think that's where they spent their money.
Yeah, you are probably correct in that, because I'll tell you that even just from the energy consumption point of view, the Tesla just delivers more information, seems to deliver it a little bit more in a digestible way too. And yeah, no doubt, the screen, it looks beautiful too, like really nice resolution, all the cameras look really good, and then the fact that it's also tracking all the vehicles around you, it's definitely pretty cool. Now, it is worth mentioning that in the Cybertruck, you cannot do full self-driving with the trailer on the back. In the Chevy, you can do Super Cruise while you're towing on the highway. So when we get in the Chevy, we'll definitely have to test that out too and see how it works. But yeah, no doubt the suite of technology here is impressive.
I think the last thought is that if you bought a Cybertruck because you're an extrovert and you just wanted to stick out like a sore thumb, well, congratulations, you do. But at the same time, if you thought, well, that's all I really want, so I'm not expecting a lot out of the vehicle, well, you're dead wrong, because there's a lot here, and it's as comparable to pretty much any EV that we've driven.
And I think with that, we should go get in the Silverado now. We're going to finish our loop here at the Cybertruck. We'll swap trucks. We'll take that back to the dealership, and yeah, we'll see how it compares.
Fair.
All right, Dad. Truck switch has happened. Now we are here in the Silverado EV. Just a reminder, identical Airstream on here today, so you can never get a better test than same day, same conditions, same trailers. And it's a little bit windy out here. I can see it out there in the trees. So
we got 40 km/h gusts for sure,
yeah.
and it's constant. So that in itself is interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, talk me through initial impressions on the Chevy and how it feels, and how it feels different or not than the Cybertruck.
Well, I wonder if some of my feelings are prejudiced by the fact that I know the truck weighs 9,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Simply put, anything that weighs 9,000 pounds is going to feel pretty planted and firm on the road.
Right.
So it certainly does. It feels like, this trailer back there at, somewhere around 5,600, 6,000 pounds, it's like nothing.
Right.
We do have the equalizing hitch, so that's keeping it straight.
Yep. Air suspension in both models too here today.
Yep. Steering is good. Everything is wonderful. So, very similar experiences, frankly, between this and that.
Yeah.
So, moving on to the next part, which is, and this is coming from somebody who, A, doesn't own an EV, B, may at some point down the road buy an EV, in which case it'll be my first EV. And when that happens, I'll want it to be as familiar to me as any one of the many trucks that I've owned over the decades. And that's where this Chev has it over something like the Cybertruck, which is basically an alien vehicle.
Sure, yeah, when you get in there, if you've never been told how to work a Tesla, there's a lot to learn, no doubt. Whereas you get in here, and it's basically the same as every other truck you've driven. And I will agree, I think there's value in that. I think if you're the right type of person, sort of the early adopter person who likes all of that technology, then the Tesla is going to appeal to you. But I also think we're past that initial hump. Anyone who really wanted an EV to be different or to stand out, they've already got one and they have that tech. We're getting to the point where manufacturers and governments keep telling us they want widespread EV adoption. And widespread EV adoption is only going to happen with EVs that are just simple. Make that process, getting out of your gas car into an EV, as simple as possible, because that is constantly what people cite as the reason they're not going to an EV. The charging experience, sure, but just the very simple fact that I need to learn a whole bunch of new stuff, people don't want to do that. So I'm definitely on your team there where, yeah, there is something nice about the familiarity of this vehicle.
Yeah, and that's going to sell moving forward, because the vast majority of owners of vehicles know very little about their vehicles.
Sure.
They know that they get in, it starts and it goes.
Right.
And when it doesn't, they're angry. Okay? But past that, I know, you know yourself, the joke of the guy who's owned something for 5 years and then discovers that he's got a feature that he didn't even know was in the vehicle. For 5 years, he overlooked it. Sadly, that is the average owner.
Yeah, that is many consumers is maybe the better way to put it, and GM wants to sell to those many consumers.
So they want to make it easy.
Right.
Give them what they already know. The only thing is the propulsion is electric instead of gasoline, and that in itself should not be a stumbling block.
Right. So another thing we didn't talk about in the Tesla I want to bring up is the brakes. We do have trailer brake controllers here. Now here in the Chevy, it's old school physical trailer brake controller. In the Tesla, it's built into the screen, of course, but they both have those trailer brake controllers. And what's funny is when we first left, I asked Andy, I said, hey, what should we set the brake gauge to? He said, don't worry, you're never going to touch the brakes. And he was absolutely right. And that's one of the nice things about regenerative braking. And you said this actually a minute ago off camera, it feels like a diesel exhaust brake. It feels like when you lift off, your vehicle starts to decelerate. It gives you that nice controlled feeling. Plus, you're scraping back energy, which is just a plus for the EV. So I'm not necessarily saying one is better than the other. I like both the systems here, but overall I'm saying regenerative braking while towing is awesome, and you're never going to use your brakes. You're not going to wear out your trailer brakes or your vehicle brakes. So I'm a big fan of that.
That is certainly a huge advantage.
There is one regenerative braking feature on the Chevy that I want to call out specifically, and that is a paddle on the left side of the steering wheel. What I like about this paddle is it is pressure sensitive. So if you grab it full on, you're going to get full regen. If you just barely grab it, you're going to get really light regen. So you can essentially manage your stopping just using your left hand. And I found myself actually turning off the one pedal drive and then exclusively using that little paddle, because that way you're only getting the regen when you want it, rather than in most EVs and in the Cybertruck where the regen is on all the time. So yes, I really do think that little regen on demand paddle is a smart feature in the GM. So Dad, now I want you to put it to the test. Engage Super Cruise, and let's see this thing Super Cruise with the trailer on. Cruise braking on. Oh, now Super Cruise unavailable. Oh, now it's back.
Okay, let's
try it again. Wait for it to go green.
All right, we're cruising.
No, I don't think you are. Now you're cruising. It has to go green first. It was still blue. Anyways, and this is an interesting thing too, because I feel like, you know, Tesla is very well known for its full self-driving capability. It's probably the most famous vehicle out there with autonomous drive, and it can't do this. General Motors is still the only brand that will actually do hands-free driving with the trailer behind you. And I've Super Cruised with trailers a lot, and I'll say two things. The first thing is that it works really well. It's really clever. What I love to see or feel is that it doesn't feel like it ever does too many sharp inputs. It feels very smooth on its inputs, and that's what you want when you're towing. You never want to do anything drastic or sharp to upset the weight balance of the vehicle. Everything needs to be smooth and controlled, and that's what I feel when I'm Super Cruising with a trailer. So that's the massive positive. Here's the big negative, and this is the same on both vehicles. I feel like this should be in every video when you talk about these things. The driver is 100% responsible for this vehicle. So if Super Cruise makes a mistake, and yes, I've had it make a mistake personally. When I was towing, I had it once where I was cheated over far to the passenger side of the lane, and I engaged Super Cruise. It instantly saw I was in the wrong spot, and it did wrench the wheel back driver's side, and my trailer wheels actually crossed the line. It only did that once, but once was enough for me to go, holy crap, if someone was next to me, I might have wiped them out. And I can't go to court and say, oh, Super Cruise did it. It's on me. So I guess what I'm saying here, Dad, is you should embrace the technology. It's good, but you have to be careful of not getting complacent. And it naturally makes you complacent because it's so good. So we're living in a weird world right now where these trucks want to drive for us, and they're really good at doing it, but it's still on you to pay attention. So yeah, keep your eyes on the road. Don't forget that.
Absolutely. The technology is here, and the cool thing is it's going to continue to improve. Every year, every generation will get better.
Right.
And there will come a day where this won't even be a topic of conversation anymore. This will be as accepted as electric turn signals.
Yeah. Sure, absolutely, and we are getting there. But yes, as of today, you got to give GM props because they're the only brand letting you do what you're doing right now. And like I said, isn't it pretty amazing? That trailer's back there and it's just handling it.
And I could eat a sandwich right now.
There you go.
Yeah, woo, look at that.
Enjoy your coffee. So another thing I'm noticing, I want to point out right now, it's noisier in here. The Chevy is definitely noisier. It's one thing that really stood out to me in that Cybertruck. Man, is it ever quiet. Not huge. I'm splitting hairs a little bit, but I can tell you I definitely hear more wind noise here in the Silverado.
Slightly more windows and a little bit more tire noise.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So that may just be a function of the type of tread on this tire versus the Tesla tire.
But yeah, the Tesla was very quiet and controlled. Okay, Dad, I want to touch on this interior now. I stand by what I said in the Tesla. I do feel like there's just some cheaper feeling materials in there, and I just don't feel like that here in the Chevy. I feel like the materials are nicer. There's a bit more attention to detail. It's definitely a busy interior as compared to Tesla, which is sort of doing the minimalist thing. So I recognize a lot of this is personal preference, but when I buy a vehicle this expensive, this is more what I expect, having all kinds of little design features everywhere, the nice stitching, the big screen, and of course the digital gauge cluster, where Tesla doesn't really offer anything right in front of you, which takes a minute to get used to too. So on the interior front, I straight up think the Chevy is nicer.
I think it's head and shoulders nicer. Just everything about it, fit and finish, and the way it's put together. And I can't stress this enough, this looks like very much any other Chevy product that I've owned in previous years and decades. And I want that. I want to be able to get in here and go, yeah, okay, so now I'm all EV, but everything else is just the way I remember it.
Sure. And so that's a good segue into the price. So this Silverado EV RST that you see in the video costs about $124,000 Canadian. The Tesla Cybertruck that you see in this video costs roughly $150,000 Canadian. And I do think that's sort of driving my opinion here, is I just sit in here and go, this interior feels nicer, and yet this vehicle's roughly $25,000 less. And then actually when you start looking at everything, you know, the Silverado offers more range, you know, bigger battery pack. I'd say it's got a nicer interior. You got the Super Cruise when towing. You have a more usable bed just because it's easier to get into that bed rather than having those big walls on it. So yeah, in just about every way, I do feel like the Chevy is straight up offering more value for the money.
I think the Cybertruck has one thing and one thing only really going for it, and that is its outrageous design.
Sure.
That garners so much attention.
Yeah.
And if that's your jam, well then have at her.
Yeah. And actually something I've seen a lot of is businesses buying them and then wrapping them with their business logos, and that makes total sense because it's a rolling billboard. Everyone's going to look at it, so why not put your branding on it?
Yep, you're absolutely right.
Now we have to look at US pricing for 2025. So the all-wheel drive Cybertruck will come in at $79,990, and this is a non-Foundation Series model. There's this base long-range model with more range, but it's slower 0 to 60, and it's $69,990, or the Cyber Beast, which gets less range, but it makes that jump from 0 to 60 in 2.6 seconds, and it's just about $100,000. Now we can look here at the 2025 Silverado EV. So it starts at $75,195, but it already offers 408 miles of range, so more than in the Tesla. Then you have this RST extended range in the middle, and then this RST max range model, this is exactly what we tested in this video, which sells for $97,895. So comparing the exact trucks we had in this video, yes, the Chevy is quite a bit more expensive than the Cybertruck in the United States, at least the non-Foundation Series. If you added the Foundation Series package to that truck, the prices would probably be comparable. Now, I also wanted to show you this, the 2026 Silverado EV, because the lineup has changed, and now there's this new base price at $54,895, offering 286 miles of range. Then you get an extended range and max range work truck, the LT in extended, standard, and max, and then finally sitting atop the range is the Trail Boss and Trail Boss Max range, which comes in at $88,695. So yes, the Chevy has a larger range of prices, and it offers more trim levels. Well, folks, now we're back in from our efficiency loop. So let's talk about energy consumption. So we did 150 kilometers. The vast majority of it was on the highway, Highway 401, and we did our best to stay right at 100 kilometers. And we mentioned this earlier, it's a pretty windy day, so the wind definitely played a factor, but we did same loop with the same two drivers. Each driver took turns in both trucks, so this was as even as it could be. Now, we're here in the Chevy right now, and you can see we managed 1.9 kilometers per kilowatt hour, which is just a little bit over 500 watt hours per kilometer. We'll throw all the exact numbers up here so you can see them, because I'm not doing all the math in my head right now. I can just do approximates, but I can also approximately tell you that if you're getting 1.9 kilometers per kilowatt hour, you're getting roughly 400 kilometers of overall range out of this Chevy while towing that trailer. And now let's go back and see how the Cybertruck. So over here in the Tesla, the first thing I'll say is the Tesla definitely delivers more information on energy consumption, and I would say it just delivers it a bit better too. So I do appreciate that about the Tesla. So you get this nice chart, and Tesla delivers watt hours per kilometer. So this was getting 492.4 watt hours per kilometer, which means that yes, the Tesla was more efficient, but not by a whole lot. And if you were to take this and do the math on it, you're going to get roughly 200 kilometers of overall range with this Cybertruck towing this trailer. So this is where the overall size of the battery pack in the Chevy really kind of shines, because yeah, you're getting roughly double the range out of the Silverado as you are in the Cybertruck, even though the Cybertruck was actually more efficient. Really, efficiency matters, but overall capacity matters too. So overall range, if that's what you're looking at, the Chevy's gonna take it. If you wanna just know which one is more efficient while rolling down the road, the Cybertruck is a little bit better. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived at the end of this video, and you probably figured this out from what we were saying in the Silverado, but yes, if Dad and I had to lay our money down on the table, we would be bringing home a Chevy Silverado EV. I do think it's just a better, more well-rounded product, and we didn't even really talk about the fact that the frunk is bigger on the Chevy, the bed is more usable on the Chevy, it has that trick mid-gate. So yeah, for doing all those other truck things, I do straight up think the Chevy is better as well, but you can't deny that the Tesla was more efficient. And yeah, I think it's pretty easy to believe that when it comes to sort of the EV side of things, Tesla truly is leading the industry. But even still, I'd go for the Chevy. Now, of course, though, I want to hear from you. What do you think? Is that a good choice, or would you stick with the Cybertruck? I also have to tell you that if you're the kind of person who loves to get noticed and talk to other people about your truck in parking lots, then the Cybertruck is the best product for you. But yeah, let me know down below which one of these two you would take. As always, while you're down there, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join, become a member, and then come right back here to Truck King to see what we're testing next. See ya.